For 3 quarters, the New Orleans Saints game versus the Carolina Panthers looked like a game that would end at another sloppy loss for a rebuilding team. But then something clicked. We didn't just see a comeback win against the Panthers. We saw a glimpse of what 2026 could be. In the fourth quarter, Shough and Chase Young led a turnaround that showed us exactly what this team could be. Today in Saints Film Room, we're breaking down the final 4 drives of the game that helped the Saints snatch a comeback victory. And in doing so, did we just find the leaders of the future? I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Carolina right now is just trying to burn clock, hold on to the ball, and sneak out of here with a win. So they're going to run the ball on first down. And right off, Chase Young does a good job of setting that edge. They're trying to go left with this. And there's nothing happening there. So Hubbard's going to take the cutback. Godshaw, Bullard do a good job of jamming things up in the middle of the line. Pete Werner is now getting involved. He's unblocked. And Hubbard really has nowhere to go at this point. So he just tries to bang it in there and get what he can get. But once he makes contact, he gets nothing. The pursuit is incredible. We have a lot of bodies there. That offensive line, which is a good run blocking offensive line, can't push us at all, can't push Hubbard forward. Hold him to a 3-yard gain so they don't get ahead of the chains on first down, and that's very important. Chase Young setting a good edge with the rest of the defensive line, getting good run fills and not getting pushed out of there, puts them in a 2nd and 7, which is really not where they want to be. So on that 2nd and 7, they come out. The offensive line is simulating a wide zone left look, but it's actually a play action pass. We do a good job of defending had he handed off, but since he didn't and we didn't fully bite on a run fake, 8 players you're looking at right now, and everybody's getting back to defend the pass. More importantly, Cam Jordan has planted the tight end that was lined up at fullback, put him on the ground. So Cam's unblocked, and that guy is not going to be able to get up fast enough to act as a check down safety valve, anything for Young. So Young's now on a 2-man route. Taylor has picked up the tight end that was lined up on the line of scrimmage. McKinstry has picked up Tet McMillan on the cross. Neither one of these guys are open and a factor in this, so Young has to run. And Cam and Demario Davis do a great job of corralling him and holding him to a 2-yard gain. 3rd and 5, we have to get a stop right here. And at the snap of the ball, the defensive line is doing a really good job of getting some push, but not getting out of control like they did at times in the game and allowing Young to get out of there and pick up cheap yards on the scramble. With us sitting back in the zone and having so many eyes on him, and not a very deep zone, most of our guys are right at the sticks. You can see Demario Davis is right on the first down marker. Even had he come out of there, we probably have a real good chance of keeping him short of the first down. So he's going to take the check down. And Demario with great reaction time because he gets there right as the ball gets there, lets McMillan catch it, and just plants him. 4 minutes, 37 seconds, 1st and 10. So you're starting off on first down just looking for a play to get ahead of the chains. So we're going to motion Tipton across the formation, come out. We're just looking for a quick pitch and catch, a little rub route right there, or 2-man route. He sees the space, gets it in and out quick, no pass rush to worry about. Everybody's sitting back in their zone. Nobody really has time to react to this. Makes the catch, but I love the ball placement because Kevin Austin Jr., in for the injured Devon Vallée, grabs that thing, and he's now turning back to the outside away from the closest defender, which allows him to pick up 7 yards after the catch. So you were definitely getting ahead of the chains on the catch, but the yards after the catch moves the chains. After this, it totally becomes the Tyler Shough, Chris Olave show. And it starts off with a 17-yard completion to Olave. Now they're going single high right here. Shough anticipates that space is going to be open right over the middle of the field, and he actually has both Olave at the top of the screen and Kevin Austin Jr. on the bottom of your screen with routes running towards that space. But he sees Olave, anticipates it, puts a pretty good throw in there. It's a little low and behind him. And RJ3 made the point in the broadcast that, well, that might have saved him from taking a big shot. That's possible, but it might have also cost us a big run after the catch. Doesn't really matter. It worked out well for us either way. But the important thing is I would rather make sure you secure this 17-yard catch than not get the catch anticipating a huge 70-yard touchdown play. So you get a big play to Olave. Well, let's go to Olave again on the very next play. They're going 3 high, and that corner at the top of your screen on Olave is giving him a lot of space and playing off. He's not tight. If he's tight, you would probably throw the ball downfield and try to get Olave to beat him for the long catch. But because he's given the space, Olave breaks the route off and goes to the out route. And at this point, there's no way that corner can defend that. Shough is anticipating it and lasers a really good throw in on him, keeps him in bounds, keeps it away from anybody that could possibly try to break this thing up, even though there's nobody close. It's just him and Olave. Great pitch and catch on the sideline. Pick up 18 yards. Third play in a row, we're going to get a big one to Olave. Kind of single high look. Shough's looking to the left, looking at Moreau on the out, that route combo at the top. Nothing really going on there, or he doesn't like it, or he's just anticipating Olave breaking off again on a crosser and finding him in the open in front of that single high safety. But it is a good play all the way around because whether it was a look off or finding a secondary read, either way, nobody accounted for Olave when Shough was looking left. He sneaks right in there, right where you want it. Again, not the perfect throw, but a very catchable ball, and Olave makes sure he secures it because had the ball been out in front of him, maybe you get a big chunk of yards after the catch and possible touchdown. But again, you got the completion for 16 yards. Ultimately, that is the most important thing because as it turns out, we get the touchdown anyway. So after a penalty and an incompletion, we're now playing 2nd and 15. And we come up with, in my opinion, one of the best jobs all day because it was a great play design. It was a great play call. And the quarterback made a fantastic read on this. We're going to put Johnson in motion out of the slot wide to the top of the screen. Snap the ball. Mason Tipton's going to double move this thing and go towards the end zone on the outside and draws 2 defenders. And Johnson, just a little simple underneath route, is wide open. There's nobody close. Again, Shough makes the right read. Make sure, hey, I've got the open guy and probably pre-snap knows it. Gets him the ball, very catchable where he can get some yak. Because what you're trying to do here is you want to make sure you at least get the third manageable on 2nd and 15, and you do that with this 9-yard pitch and catch. Great job all the way around, especially a great job at the very end of the play because there's about 4 or 5 Carolina defenders all in there in that pile trying to rip the ball out. Johnson covers it up and protects it to set up the next play. So now we're playing 3rd and 6. We can pick up the first down without scoring. And this is another good job all the way around of play design, play call, and execution of the play, especially with our quarterback and our wide receiver. We're triple stacked on the right side of the offensive formation. They're single high, but they're kind of cheating that way. And we're going to make them cheat a little more because right before the snap, we send Tipton in short motion to the right and put him outside. So now you definitely have Olave one-on-one with that corner at the top of the screen. And everybody else is cheated over. That corner has no help, no safety behind him. It's him one-on-one. Olave does a good job of getting on him before making the break so that when he comes off, there's the space. A good pitch and catch right here is likely going to be a touchdown, but you're definitely going to pick up the first down. And at this point, the corner is doing a good job of getting physical with Olave and trying to get in there and jump the route because he knows he's in trouble. He's either got to knock this down or it's going to be big trouble. And that ball is lasered in there. It's right on Olave, so he has to do a little work to catch it, but it's not a big deal. He grabs the thing, and at this point, it's It's an easy walk into the end zone, and we tie the game up. Bryce Young scrambles for 11 yards on 3rd and 10 to convert. It looks like we're in trouble. Very next play, they come out on 1st down, and I want you to watch 68, the left guard. He makes the motion that, hey, we're about to snap the ball that guards often do when they tap the center to get everything in motion because the crowd noise is so loud and they can't hear. And Chase Young admitted after the game that he had been trying to jump. In fact, one of his offsides that he got called for was because he mistimed it. But that watching on film, he thought he had this time correctly when they did it. And on this play, he did. So you get the tap and the head bob, which he also mentioned by the center. And he's coming off the ball hard, right past the tight end that's releasing and just has position to get under him and bull rush him and push him straight back into Young and swallow him whole. So great job. Sack for -9 yards. Huge because now they're way behind the chains. They have some decisions to make on how they want to try to play this and not give us the ball back with a chance to kick the game-winning field goal, right? Well, it doesn't quite work out for them. So on 2nd down, Carolina throws a little quick pass to Leggett that Quincy Riley had well covered, holds him to a 5-yard gain. So this puts him on a 3rd and 14. This is behind the sticks, and all day long we had been putting them behind the sticks because we did a good job on 1st and 2nd down and giving up 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, long 3rd down conversions. And I got to be honest, watching the game, I was sweating this play. We get a decent pass rush in the sense at first he doesn't really have any options to come running out of there. And he's trying to get the ball downfield, so he's going to hold the ball and wait for his receivers to break open. Great job in coverage because none of them do. But because they're trying to go downfield, now you've got a lot of our players focused downfield and giving him some running room. Brazee does a great job of realizing he's got a huge running lane and gets over and forces him back to the left, which is where you want to force him because our most athletic lineman, Chase Young, gets a great angle on him and makes an open field tackle 7 yards. Now, I don't know if he'd have picked up very much after that, but it doesn't matter. It puts him in a very tough 4th and 7 situation at midfield. But if he can get this thing a little closer where they feel comfortable going for it on 4th down, it could have gotten very interesting very quick. So they have no choice but to punt the ball back, hope they can hold our offense with not much time left on the clock and take this thing to overtime. 2nd and 10 after an incompletion, 52 seconds remaining in the game. We've got a long way to go to try to get a field goal to win this thing. And we make a great play call right here because we were obviously anticipating some pressure from them, knowing we have to throw the ball right here. And I think we make the perfect call, a running back screen. And not only was the play call perfect, the execution was pretty good too. Fuaga is getting out on the one man right now that can do anything about this and getting him blocked up. We now have blockers coming downfield. Our receivers are doing a great job of picking up defensive backs. So now Estime has a lot of room to run, and he takes advantage of it. Kind of a whiff block right there, but that's okay. We've picked up the 1st down. We've definitely given ourselves some room. And Estime, when he's going downhill, is a cannonball, and he even still picks up a couple of yards after contact. And I'm going to give some Tyler Shough love on this decision because it was huge in my opinion. In the back end, they're not so concerned about something coming deep. They're trying to take away mostly the outside routes and try to keep us away from the sidelines and being able to catch a ball and get out of bounds. They pretty much only really leave one defender in the middle of the field. Everything else is covered up. There's nowhere else to go with the ball, and Shough does not have the time to hold it, not only to avoid the sack, but you've got to get the ball out and get the ball upfield in this. It's not even a 2-minute situation. It's a less than a minute situation, and keep moving down the field. So he has no problem taking the wide open check down and letting his running back get the job done, picking up some yards and almost chain moving type situation, 9 total on the play. But now Carolina's got to be playing a little tight on defense, going, look, we know they got a guy with a big leg, and it's getting close to the point where they can give him a shot. Now, after we burn our last time out, and I don't mean burn in a bad way, I think everything sets up perfectly from right here. Kellen Moore, throughout training camp, into the preseason, into the season, and even going back into the mini camps and OTAs, was a big proponent about situational football. The players often talked about how they ran just so many end of half, end of game situational possibilities. And I think it showed because we were very, very prepared to what we had to pull off the next two plays with only 24 seconds remaining on the clock and no timeouts. So again, they're kind of going with a single high look right here. But again, I don't think they're too worried about anything going real deep. I think they're thinking we're still looking for something short to the boundary and trying to get out of bounds to stop the clock and keep the drive going. So at the snap of the ball, they seem to be wanting to bracket any receiver that looks like is moving outside of the hash towards the sidelines. So they let Olave break right over the middle of the field to the 50. They've got him surrounded. He's not busting this out. He's not going to get out of bounds. So they don't mind necessarily giving up this play, despite the fact that it's 15 more yards of chunk play that puts us in a really good position. But situationally, we hustle back to the line. We do a great job of hustling up there. It's about 11 seconds from the snap to the previous play to the point where we can get this off, get the spike down. So now there's 12 seconds. We snap it at 13, stop it at 12. 12 seconds left to try to figure out a way to get down here, kick the field goal, win the game. And we get a gutsy play call right here. And we get great execution. Again, situational football. After the game, players, coaches talked about how this is some of the end of the half, end of the game situational stuff they work on a lot, and they're able to pull it off because Carolina has no inkling this is coming. And all they are doing is playing to keep the ball in the middle of the field with the clock still running so they can just run it out from this point and take it to overtime. They're definitely not worried about 5 yards over the middle at this point. So the draw play works. And I love how even the line seems to create some confusion on Carolina because the right side of our line is pass blocking. The left side's making it look like a run block. The receivers are just kind of hanging out and not going very far, except for, Evan Hall's only been here a couple of weeks, so he might not have had all the training on the situational football because he's the only player I think gets too far downfield. This could have been touchy had the penalty not been called to stop the clock because he's got the longest to come back. Everybody else is in the vicinity of where the line of scrimmage is going to be and should only take us a few seconds to get up there, get set, be able to snap the ball, stop it so Charlie can come out and kick the field goal. I hear a lot of talk about a late slide and all this other stuff, but A, rule's a rule. B, God knows the Saints have been butchered on this many times over the years to the point where I don't even really cry about it anymore one way or the other. But C, and most importantly to me, maybe he gets away with it if he does it, and there's plenty of still shots and out there showing that the first point of contact he made was to Shuck's head, and that's going to draw a flag every single time in that situation. So regardless how you personally feel about it, this is the way it was called. We get the clock stoppage, get to run a play where we take off a couple more seconds. Charlie comes out, bangs the field goal. We win the game. Before we wrap up Saints film room, let's take a look at some of the numbers for Tyler Shough and Chase Young, because I think they validate a lot of what we saw going on with the tape. So it wasn't just lucky, it was execution. On the offensive side, Tyler Shough, he was surgical most of the day. He finished really good numbers, some of his best of his career so far. 24-32, 272 yards, 75% completion percentage, and it's an 81 adjusted for drops completion percentage. That is stellar numbers. QB rating of 110.4. He threw in some rushing numbers, 8 carries, 32 yards. So 4.4 yards a carry, 4.0 yards per carry. And a stat that sticks out and matters most, 0 turnovers in crunch time. Wasn't perfect. There was some sloppiness. There was 5 total sacks. And when you go back and look at them, offensive line was an issue for him on a lot of those, but there were some things he could have done probably to mitigate or even eliminate those 5 sacks, some of those 5 sacks. And there were a few plays that even though you got good numbers out of them with a completion, maybe missed a bigger play downfield. It's one with a lobby that stands out that likely would have been a touchdown. On the defensive side, Chase Young is really looking like that disruptor that we've been missing the last couple of seasons. 4 solo tackles with 2 assists, 2 of them for losses. And look, that critical sack in the fourth quarter was massively huge, and then follows it up with a great athletic play to stop a scramble that could have been trouble. Now, his PFF grade, I did take a look at that, and it was 62.9%, which I found extremely shocking. But he had a coverage grade of 32.2. His primary stats, which was his run defense, his pass rush, and his tackling, were all three well over 70. Would have graded out fine, but I'm more interested in the other 3 for an impact edge rusher than necessarily the coverage. And it was only 4 snaps of coverage anyway. So maybe a little misleading there. But Shough, north of 80%, or I'm sorry, 80% grade on his PFF. So the guys grading the films were impressed mostly with both of them. Their overall stats, especially what they did in the fourth quarter on those collectively, 2 defensive and 2 offensive drives, I think it really presents a bigger picture. Look, we know the playoffs aren't happening this year, and this season, especially the end of this season, is all about finding out who can wear the black and gold next year and help lead a turnaround, or hopefully help finish the turnaround. So in the modern NFL, look, we all know you can't win without a quarterback who's pretty good and can consistently do 2 things. He's got to be able to lead the offense with a combination of steady production. More importantly, he's got to make some big plays when you need him. I think Tyler Shough is starting to reinforce both those abilities as we get along towards the end of this season. And you need an impact defensive player. And having an impact edge rusher is especially a dangerous commodity to have. And it seems like we have one. We always kind of knew what Young was capable of. It's been more of a point of keeping him healthy. But I think the second point is what he can do well marries up very well with the type of defense that Brandon Staley is trying to run. And I think that I was a little critical of how much they paid him in this offseason to bring him back. I'm buying more and more that they did the right thing there. And with these 2 players, one on offense, one on defense, both relatively young, no pun intended, with Chase Young. But I think both establishing themselves that they can be around for quite a while, Shough on the offense and Young on the defense, be foundational pieces that help stabilize what you're trying to do on both sides of the ball. Not only with ability, but with leadership, but more importantly, making big plays when you need them. I kind of think those are what foundational pieces should be. So let me know in the comments, are you sold on Shough and Young as foundational? Let's make sure they're here in 2026 with the pieces around them to build off of. And can that be the push in 2026 to say, hey, we've got the rebuild done. We've turned it around. Now we can start talking about playoffs again. I sincerely hope so. If you enjoyed this Saints content, give me a like, please. Give me a subscribe, and be on the lookout for more film review and Saints analysis in our next video later this week. Until I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and Who Dat.